Hey guys, what's up? It's Terence once again here with another video. Today is kind of an interesting topic. Um, I chose this topic because I feel it will help literally everyone from the age of I would say um, once you finish high school, right? Once you step into your graduation, all the way until your retirement, basically, right? That's the reason I chose this topic, and from the title you probably guessed it right now. So it's the top 5 things you can do, or you can implement, or at least try to implement, right, to be more productive. Let's say for the 24 hours that you're awake, or I shouldn't say awake. So you're basically sleeping for 6 to 7 hours, or some 4 or some 7, right? So basically throughout the day, how can you be more productive, right? These are things that have worked for me, and these are things that will hopefully help you in the long run. So let's begin. So the first thing is, now if you check on YouTube, right, one of the major things you get with regards to this topic of productivity is make a to-do list, right? Create a diary and write down what you want, right? All that is great, right? Um, but you need to understand you have 24 hours in a day, right? You don't have 200 hours in a day, correct? So your commitments for that day, right, have to be very precise, right? And when you're doing that to-do list on in your diary, or in your mind, or on your cell phone, or in your app, etc., right, I see people writing down like 12, 13, 14, 15 things. It's great if you if you can achieve that, but all great things, right, have come through lot of have, most of the great things in life come through indicated focus, which means, if you see all the great things that have happened throughout humanity, right, they've all come because of great focus in that one direction, right? So according to me and my personal opinion, right, your to-do list, right, yeah, we're still talking about the to-do list, but your to-do list for the day, or for, let's say, for 3 days, or even a week, it should not have more than 5 items on it, right? Or 5 tasks that you want to do, or something to accomplish, 5 things, right? It shouldn't be more than 5. This is just my opinion, right? It may vary, like for some people it may be 8, for some people it may be 3, but 5 things. Narrow it down, indicate focus, and then go ahead and tackle those one step at a time. Now let's say I created 5 tasks on my to-do list, right? If you had done, let's say, 10, right, and let's say you have 10 hours to do that, right? So once you're done with the first one, or you're trying to complete it, right, you have 10, right, and let's say you have 10 hours, right, which means you have 1 hour per task. But the problem here is, what if you are not able to achieve that in like 1 hour, right? That's the worst case scenario. Best case scenario is you'll finish it within 1 hour, or before 1 hour, and you have free time, right? But when that happens, let's say you're at the 55th minute or the 56th minute, and you've still not completed task type 1, or the first task on your to-do list, right? So that's going to indirectly affect your next task, right? So my suggestion is, let's say we're talking about 24 hours in a day, right, and you suggested 5 tasks for the day, right? Let's say you finish task 1, task 2, task 3, right, and let's say you didn't finish task 4 and 5 still, right? You didn't dedicate particular hours in the day, right? You just initially thought, I'll do 5 tasks in a day, right, but I will not move ahead until I completely finish this. Until I finished one task, right, my whole heart and soul into that task number 1, right? I didn't waver. I don't care about task number 2, 3, 4, 5, that I have to do it within the same. No, right? So what that builds is, right, it builds expertise on each task type, right? But if you had, let's say, 12, 13, or 11, or 10 task types in your to-do list in 24 hours, you're always worried, oh, I have to begin that, I have to begin subconsciously, you're always worried. So shorten your to-do list, right? That's tip number 1 to be more productive, right, as much as possible, right? I would say keep it at a minimum of, like, let's say, 3 in a week for worst case scenario. Best case scenario, I would say keep it like at least 1 task type a day, right? Because life happens, you never know, right? So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 I have is taking breaks. This kind of bleeds into task 1 as well, right? Because when you're indicating focus on, let's say, task type 1, right, and then you have task type 2, but let's say task type 1 was still taking 2 to 3 hours, right, and then you're burnt out, right? So it's very important that you stop what you're doing. For example, let's say you're trying to, I don't know, write a program, to simulate words on a keyboard, etc., right? Your own characters on a keyboard, as just using an example, a complex example, right? Let's say you're coding for an hour or so, right? And then you are like, damn, you're depending upon each person's focus limit, right? You'll be like, oh man, it's too tough, right? As soon as you get that friction in your mind saying that, hey, look, it's too tough, take a step back. When I mean take a step back, is in this case is close your laptop, right? Take a break, probably do something else, probably engage in your hobby, or I don't know, watch YouTube videos by Mr. Ted or 1992, right? Right. So take a break, right? And then once you're doing the other activity, right, or your hobby, in terms of taking a break, there'll be a moment in time wherein the thought of the friction that you had for task type 1 to be completed will no longer, I would say, appear in your mind, or occur in your mind, right? That's when you get back to task type 1 again and continue your work, right? So taking breaks is very important, right? So that's tip number 2, take breaks. Whether they're short or long, it depends upon you listening to your mind, right? When you listen to your mind, you will hear friction and you will not hear friction, right? Once you hear friction, you take breaks. When you stop hearing the friction, you stop taking breaks, and you go back to your work, right? So that's tip number 2, to be more productive. Tip number 3 I would have is I want to put this as simple as possible, right? People generally, they wake up every day, they take a shower. I'm talking about the average Joe, right? They do their personal stuff and then they go to work, right? So I would say they take around 60 minutes, or worst case scenario 20-25 minutes before they actually begin their day, right? I mean, like a 9 to 5 job as such, right? But my suggestion would be, when you wake up, or at least before you go to bed, right? Dedicate 60 minutes or even 45 minutes to yourself. I'm not talking about work. I'm talking about in terms of your what do you say? Investments, not investments. Yeah, your investments which cannot be gained by, let's say, working for someone, or someone, or that doesn't give you like monetary gain, right? You're not doing it for a particular reason to satisfy what you want, etc., right? So what I'm trying to talk to you about is work on yourself in terms of your health. It may be meditation, or it can be workouts, it can be jogging, running, whatever, right? Or whatever hobby it is, right? Investing on your own health, as an example, right, is a great method of boosting your confidence. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're 24 hours a day, you wake up, let's say, let's say you wake up at 7 a.m. every day, right? And let's say you done for that day, you decided to do, let's say, a 45-minute, run, or a 45-minute workout, or a 45-minute, spend time on your hobby, whatever, right? Which gave some end goal, which was like you had, for example, when you work out, you have your routines of what exercise you do, how many reps, how many sets, etc., right? So what that will do is, let's say you've done that 45 minutes, right? It already sets you ahead of everyone else in the world, because you've already finished something at the beginning of the day while people are still, probably not woken up, or are on the way to the office, etc., right? So you achieving something before you reach, let's say, your 9 to 5 job, as an example, right, will add that extra layer of confidence above others, saying that, hey, look, I already finished this here, now come here, right? And by the time you are here, I'll be here. Then when you're here, I'm here. And at the end of the day, when your colleague or your teammate is here, you already be a step above him, right? Because you did more, you are more productive during the day. So work on yourself. That's tip number 3, right? That can be either through workouts, or running, or jogging, or whatever, right? Or meditation, whatever sport you prefer, right? So work on yourself. And obviously there are other benefits in terms of longevity, etc., but right, so that is why I thought working on yourself is very important, because it adds that extra layer of confidence and that extra layer of courage and determination throughout the day. right? And that you have the security layer saying that I did something more than you. You don't have to go and tell it to everyone, but inside of you, that subconsciously, right? It's like no matter what, my 9 to 5 job was shitty. I didn't do anything that day, but you still achieved your morning task, right? On working on yourself. So that was tip number 3. Tip number 4. This is a strange one because I think the majority of the population works a 9 to 5 or whatever shift, the 8 or 9 hour shift, or the 45 hours in a week, or 50 or 60, whatever it is, whatever job you're doing, right? There may be some tasks within your day-to-day job, right, that you do for a daily living, right, which are more challenging than others, right? So I'll give an example. If you're a pizza delivery guy, picking up the pizza from the restaurant, right, is more easier than actually traveling through traffic, right? That's just an example I'm giving, right? So for that person, traveling through traffic is a little more difficult, right? So wouldn't it be better if he does that challenging task, let's say before his afternoon lunch or his tea break or whatever, right? So I always feel that people, whenever they coach themselves on, especially in certain countries, on their afternoon meals or lunch or whatever you would have it, right? Basically a second meal of the day, right? You tend to become a little more lethargic because your body is still processing the first meal that you had, and then you sat down to do a work or whatever, right? And then you're eating another meal, right? So your body becomes lethargic because it's trying to process everything that's happening at a very slow pace, right? And you're shoving down food on your throat, basically, right? So keep all your challenging tasks before lunch or before your second meal of the day, right? So that's my 4th tip. I think so it's self-explanatory because we all have had that feeling, right? Especially in a 9 to 5 job. Next thing is my last tip is it's kind of complex. Is let's say you have a 9 to 5 job, right? And you have 5 things to do in that day, right? 5 things to do in that day, right? Which means 3 you have to do, your 2 are kind of like optional, right? You can still push it for the next day, right? If it's not done, right? So you have some leeway. So the 3 tasks that are really important, right? You'll obviously do them first, and then you'll give priority to task number 4 and task number 5, right? So break down your tasks. Let's say if they are 100% of tasks, right? So break them down into like 80 and then 20. So if you focus most of your attention, right? It again leads into the first point, like how I spoke about prioritizing your tasks, right? 80% of the work that you do in the day has to be the ones that have high priority than the ones that have low priority. Which means, let's say your boss gave you 5 things to do, right? And you can sense, or you have data to say that, hey, no, this is the first 2 things are more critical than the other 3, right? So on the day that you're logged in, as an example, right, your entire focus should be completing task 1 and task 2, right? If this is done, and then you have 3 more tasks which are much more simpler or can be pushed to another day if time runs out, right, you're still safe. But things that are more critical in nature have to be done at the beginning. So it depends upon you and the work that you kind of do, right? So prioritize your task. Some people call this the 80-20 rule. I don't like saying that because it's kind of cliche, but yeah. So prioritize your tasks which are important, which are least important, and which are critical, right? Critical ones you tackle them first. Not, let's say, I would say less critical in the medium, and those are not important, you probably push them for another day if you're not able to do it. Now yes, if you're able to complete all the types of tasks in the day, well and good, right? So just to summarize the 5 things that I discussed to be productive, right, is making your to-do list short, right? Second thing was taking breaks in between those tasks. The third one was working on yourself so that you're a step ahead of everyone else on that day, right? And doing challenging tasks before lunch, or tackling them before lunch or before your meal breaks, and then prioritizing the tasks that you get into critical, less critical, and not critical for that day. I hope this video has been helpful, right? And yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ping me on my Instagram handle, right? I think so. It's in my channel description. Also, please do not forget to subscribe and like this video, and let me know, guys, if you like this kind of videos. I probably do them more, right? Yeah, take care, guys. See ya. Bye bye.